Welcome to this session of free online webinar on various competitive examinations being conducted by Shaheen Civil Services Academy. In this session, we will talk about UPSC examination or Indian Administrative Services IAS examination as it is popularly known. To tell us about this examination, we have with us Mr. Mukesh Sahay. Mr. Mukesh Sahay ने शाहीन सिविल सर्विसेज एकेडमी को एज ए डायरेक्टर ज्वाइन किया है। मिस्टर मुकेश सहाय आईएएस के फील्ड में पूरे इंडिया में एमिनेंट और पॉपुलर टीचर हैं। सो टू टेल यू ऑल यू वांट टू नो अबाउट आईएएस और यूपीएससी एग्जामिनेशन, आई वुड लाइक टू इनवाइट Mr. Mukesh Sahay.
Hello everyone. Today I am going to elaborate you about the mother of all career in India, that is known as Indian Civil Services, conducted by Union Public Service Commission every year. My dear friends, way back in 1780s, there was one report published by Lord Cornwallis, and that report claimed that Indian civil servants are the highest paid officials in the world. Right since then, the charm and craze is maintained to the same level. Come 2006, a report published by the Time magazine claimed that Indian civil servants are best in terms of facilities, the social reputation, the prestige and so many areas. They still hold a better charm than many of the contemporary services across the globe. My dear friends, this year you might have seen that people from various background cracked the exam, and those who were economically weak also got some space because of the EWS, introduction of EWS category in the civil services exam. Myself Mukesh Sahay, a trainer of civil services exam for more than 2 decades, I have come across a lot of challenges over a period of time and seen the civil services in making of last 2 decades. It has undergone several changes. Earlier, before 1979, civil services exam was conducted in totally different format. After 79, preliminary was introduced, and after 2010, the regime of optional were replaced by the regime of general studies. And recently, after the introduction of ethics and integrity, it has added another new dimension in its umbrella. Then the question arises out, why this is so important exam and why this is mother of all exam? Actually, civil servants are the spinal cords, or you can say the steel frames of the nation. They are the leaders behind the nation in making. They are the one who planned the structural formation of our country, be it the implementation of the plannings, be it the implementation of the government policies, be it the framing of the government policies, they are the one still very much dependable in our system. Now, you may ask what is the format of the exam and how the exam is conducted, who are the eligible people. My dear friend, anyone who has attained 21 years of age and passed graduation with any stream, with any percentage of marks, is eligible to appear in the civil services exam. As far as the upper age limit is concerned, if you are from general category, 32 is the upper limit. If you belong to the EWS category, which has been recently introduced, you are very much equivalent to OBC category. For both of them, the upper age limit is 35 years. And for both of them, for the general category, the maximum number of attempts are 6, and for OBC and EWS, it is extended by 3, that means 9 attempts. If you belong to SC/ST category, you will get another 3 chances and 3 years extension. That means, even if you are 38 years of age, you can take on this exam and give maximum up to n number of chance till you attain 38 years of your age. My dear friends, people ask that what makes this career distinguished. Yes, once you crack the exam, you are recognized as a person of dynamic orientation, a person who is adaptable to such extent, who could be absorbed in any department of importance. And that is why, if you look at the placement of civil servants, you will be surprised to know in every known department, there will be one civil servant in place. Then the question comes in place, what is the examination format, and when the exams are conducted, how should I prepare for the exam, how long will it take to prepare for the exam. If I prepare for exam and if I could not crack the exam, what are the other alternatives, right? There are n number of questions, as we all know. My dear friends, this is a 3-tier exam. The first tier exam is completely objective format exam, which comprises of 2 papers, right, known as civil services aptitude test, right. This civil services aptitude test, comprises of 400 marks divided into 2 papers. Paper 1, that is known as general studies, paper 2, that is known as aptitude test, and each paper comprising 200 marks divided in 200 plus 200, that means 400 marks. The exam will be held generally in the month of May or June. Because of corona, as you know that COVID-19 situations have replaced, and now it is going to be conducted in late October somewhere. But then every year it will not remain the same. Generally May or June is the month when the exam is conducted for this civil services aptitude test. Out of this 400 marks, let us look at general studies paper 1, which comprises 100 questions each question carrying 2 marks. That means, exam will be held for 200 marks within the span of 2 hours. 9:30 to 11:30 is the general schedule of conducting the exam, and there is a provision of negative marking as well. For every wrong answer committed, 1/3 of the mark would be deducted, right. Now, the question comes in place, what about the nature of question and what is the syllabus of paper 1, that is called general studies in the preliminary. There is no specific syllabus described by UPSC. They will tell you that a range of subject including polity, geography, history, Indian economy, science and technology, environment and ecology, international relation, associated current affairs, etc., these are the range of topics. Be very careful that UPSC has not mentioned the specific syllabus of this general studies paper 1, but yes, topics are there. And then as far as the second paper is concerned, that is known as aptitude test, conducted for 2 hours again, 2:30 to 4:30. Here the number of questions will be only 80, that means each question carrying 2.5 marks. My dear friends, you may ask what are the topics in this aptitude test. As the name itself suggests, generally you will find the questions related to reasoning and analytical questions, reading comprehensions, and there are some questions related to decision making. Point to be noted that questions related to decision making, if they are asking decision making related questions, there shall not be any negative marking on that question. Secondly, recently they have decided that this second paper aptitude test will just be of qualifying nature. You just need to bring certain qualifying marks only, right. Now, people ask that suppose in GS paper 1, if I want to have a brief idea of syllabus, what it could be. Okay. A brief idea of syllabus you can form, and but then what should be the nature of question and how should I prepare is very important area to deal with. They are asking, suppose there is a word called current events of national and international importance. See, there are n number of events which takes place every passing day, we all know that. But then what is there in the spotlight, and then if there is one incidence, what is there in the surround. Suppose if they are asking NRC, you have a hell lot of idea about CAA or NRC or whatever, right. National population, NPA, CAA, NRC, what suppose say for example, these are currently in news, but many people do not know what was Nehru-Liaquat Ali Pact. Many people do not know that NRC came for Assam way back during the Nehru's period. So, when you are studying about current affair, you need to know the roots of those events which are into the spotlight. Secondly, the historic background, the surround, the technical aspects, right. And there are some comparable things, what happened in Assam student movement, ASU and ASU, and what were their demands, what was the Assam Accord. So, just if you go through 1 or 2 article, you cannot form the idea of current affairs in totality, because nowadays they will not ask direct question, they ask question in totality, right. So, suppose if you have a rough idea of, you may be very much equipped with the features of NRC, CAA and NPA, but then there are some historic aspect you do not know, there are some technical aspect you do not know, and there are some critical areas you do not know. So, then your current affair is something like a lame kind of preparation. Same way, history of India, Indian national movement. See, second topic is history of India and Indian national movement appears to be only 6-worded kind of syllabus. But in history of India itself is such a vast area, right. Freedom struggle has its own sound space, right. But then they will ask you, maybe you have gone through entire Harappan civilization, Vedic culture, right, and then entire ancient India you are expert with, medieval India, modern India, but there are n number of critical areas, technical areas you are not acquainted with. There are n number of issues which could be compared with the present time, right. There are n number of technical aspects, you know it, but you do not know its practical application, how this Martin Luther inspired Mahatma Gandhi, and who was the one who inspired Mahatma Gandhi and why he inspired. So, if you are having a very strong surround, then only you can take on the questions of history. A few questions are directly like Lothal located on Bhogavo river. So, these could be some direct questions, but in UPSC do not expect much that kind of question even in the preliminary. As I wanted to tell you, being a mentor for more than 2 decades, I have seen a lot of metamorphosis in the questions of UPSC. So, some 20 years back there would have been rare facts kind of questions. Now, what I could observe, more and more questions are coming into the analytical aspects, comparative aspect, historical aspects. So, you need to focus more about those areas. See, even in the world geography, physical geography, you need to focus, like all of us know about Wagner's plate tectonics, right, and there are so many things. So, it is not about plate tectonics or black hole theory or whatever in geography, physical geography, how the land forms, like types of landforms and different things, climate. But then besides all these things, you need to study what are the inherent geographical aspect of India, especially in relation to the changing dynamics with respect to the climate change and all those things, human geography, and how things are moving, how there are certain areas like monsoon, how the returning monsoon affects our climate, right. So, it is not limited to how GPS system can be useful, there are so many things. So, even if you are thinking that seriously going through one physical geography, so you need to connect physical geography with the the problems which are being confronted by the present generations, and how this geography study of geography could help us to understand the major problems, be it the problems of flood, drought, somewhere it connects with disaster management as well, right, ecology, environment as well. As far as polity is concerned, as there are so many polities now, constitution at work. As you all know that every passing day there are certain issues which are confronted by Supreme Court, and Supreme Court has got the authority to interpret the constitution, to interpret suppose if you have passed an act, but then interpretation right is there with the Supreme Court, and they have every power to define whether it comes within the basic structure of constitution or not. So, in last few years you need to see the technical aspect of the constitution at work. Secondly, how it affects the people at large, the critical areas, right. So, here what are the problem solving aspects in every decisions of the government, decisions of recently Corona was one of the gravest challenge of 21st century, and what could be the probable solution. Maybe there are so many issues like river water disputes, there may be the issues of state list versus central list, there may be the issues like governor versus the chief minister or somewhat like that. So, just going through the memorizing, cramming like who is governor and what are the responsibilities, who is this what you call Vidhan Sabha Adhyaksh or Lok Sabha Adhyaksh, and what are their duties and responsibility, is not going to cater you the questions which are coming in the recent past. Even you should look at all the so called deprived areas of polity, deprived in the sense which are not the recent trend in coming. Likewise, in economy you need to think like what kind of economy we have presently, because now the focus has shifted from planning to this Niti Ayog. So many things are, economics is one of the most dynamic areas you need to focus upon, be it the some dynamism of share market, be it like there are so many areas, right, be it the market forces, be it our international relation, and how the economy is a determinant, and what are the things which are shaping the economy. What could be, like, say for example, recently government took the decision of demonetization. What would have been the basic reason behind, and what would have been the critical areas, and what could be the better option if government would not have gone with the demonetization. Likewise, you need to develop a kind of critical thinking, be it agriculture, be it industry, be it service sector, be it market oriented banking sector, be it banking reforms, right. So, if you are just looking through, just writing, okay, this is the committee and these are the recommendation, that is not going to work, right. You need to come out with a solution oriented idea, even in the dynamism of economics. So, do not just focus on terminology, its meaning, no, these are the basic areas. You need to know the applied areas, suppose certain case study also. So, what could be the better position, right? How these river water, suppose in economics mining is one of the aspect, agriculture is the aspect, how these market reforms could save us. See, you should also align all the government economic policies and how meaningful they are and how it could move into a better way. So, just do not cram about the government policies. How sustainable development could be achieved, how poverty issues, unemployment issues could be addressed, how you can make this economy more and more inclusive, what is the demographic dividend, and how far we could achieve and how we need to achieve further. And in the recent past, if you see the the trend of UPSC, ecology, biodiversity and climate change, it has affected to a great extent the entire humanity in the past few years. So, that is why if you see last 2-3 years papers, they are largely dominated by ecology, biodiversity and climate change area. As far as the general science is concerned, you need to focus more about the emerging areas like nanotechnology, biotechnology, iRNA, right. Do not be limited to just the basics, right. You need to think what are the ideas, what are how geoengineering and many emerging areas are coming up with the ideas to address the challenges of 21st century. Then only you will be in a position to solve the issues of 21st century. As far as CSAT paper 2 is concerned, last 2-3 years all you need to have just 40% marks. So, even if you are very strong in comprehension, interpersonal skills, logical reasoning, analytical ability, decision making and problem solving, and even if you have better mental ability and maths, even basic numeracy, data interpretation, you are there to get into the CSAT paper, right. All you need for CSAT, what is my advice as a senior mentor, practice is very important in CSAT, right. So, this was all about the preliminary and its strategy. Now, the second part that is very, very important in civil services exam known as UPSC main exam, and that comprises of 1750 marks. Earlier it used to be optional based, but now optional is half of the GS portion. So, that is why if you see the exam pattern, mains exam is conducted for 9 papers, right, and basically the exam is held to test the candidate's academic talent in depth, right, how he presents, right, to the requirement of the questions in a time bound manner. If you look at the paper, the first 2 papers will be belonging to language paper. One, any Indian language out of the 22 you can opt for it. It may be Hindi, it may be Kannada, it may be Telugu, it may be Tamil, it may be Urdu. But second is compulsory English language, each comprising of 300 marks. Remember, these marks, even those who suppose in preliminary there are exam is held for 400 marks, even you get cutoff is 300 and you got 400 out of 400, it hardly makes any sense or difference, because not a single mark is going to carry forward for the mains exam. So, those who cracked prelims, right, they just get the entry ticket to the mains, right, and again next year they have to appear into the preliminary exam. So, they do not get any mileage of just cracking the preliminary exam. Secondly, their marks are also not carried forward. Same way, this language test is nothing but the language proficiency test, and it is expected from every civil services aspirant that he must have at least 25% of the language skills, and that is why out of the 300 marks, right, 25% comes around 75 each. If you could not get 75 each, your papers of GS and optional will be conducted, but not be evaluated. So, that is very important to know. So, we should not ignore this paper just because they do not carry any marks, carry forward any marks in our all India merit list, right. Even if you want to get your papers evaluated, you need to focus on these 2 papers as well. Now comes the very important segment which constitute the merit list, right, of civil services mains. The first paper, that is essay, and now comes very important segment, that is paper 1 essay 250 marks, paper 2 GS paper 1 250 marks, paper 3 GS paper 2 250 marks, paper 4 GS paper 3 250 marks, paper 5 GS paper 4 ethics and ethics, integrity and aptitude 250 marks, and optional subject paper 1 and 2 250 each, that constitute the all India merit list marks 1750. Now, let us look at the first paper that is called as essay out of this 7 paper. Essay, nowadays they will give you some 3 or 4 essays in the 2, basically there are 2 essays you have to write, 3 each out of 6, they might ask you 1 each you need to write in 1200 words, and essays could be based on the topics of history, the topics of contemporary issues, the topics of psychology, the topics of politics, etc., etc. How to write a good essay is very challenging thing. Remember, there are many methods, many ways to write the better answer, but always remember your method should be very creative, very productive, very compact, and always try to avoid the repetition. Secondly, if you come to the class, I will elaborate you in details, but anyway I am giving you some brief idea, like whatever you are going to elaborate should be given in brief in your preface and that in the body you must elaborate the things, and then at last you should conclude. This is the very typical format of essays. There are many methods like inverted pyramid methods, gravity methods, photographic techniques, how to represent the better answer. I will be telling you into the class once you join here. The second paper, that is GS paper 1, comprises of Indian heritage and culture, history, geography of the world and society. Proportion of the questions keep on changing, like sometimes you will find history 200 marks, sometimes you will find history 150 marks, and then geography sometimes 20 to 50 marks, culture 20 to 50 marks, like that. So, there is no fixed frame that how many questions will come from which area, but then largely you will find the questions are coming from history, and then second ratio will find history and culture, then second ratio from geography, and then society, the social issues. So, this is general studies paper 1, and then paper 3, that is general studies paper 2. Here you will find one topic called governance. See, governance is totally challenging kind of area in 21st century. How the items of governance, even see corona is a classic example of modern governance, right. So, what are the things in governance, like how these elections are being conducted in the country, like how the administrative reforms are being held. So, many things are the part of the governance, right. And then constitution at work, how our constitution works, then polity, social justice and international relation. Remember, even international relation is the part of GS paper 2. So, largely you see why this paper 2, if you see the clubbing of the topics in paper 2, governance, like suppose corruption is one of the issue, how governance, how you are making your governance more effective to deal with corruption. There are so many issues in governance 21st century, how e-governance is working, how things are becoming more transparent, and what are the areas of governance in 21st century, right to information. There are so many things coming up. Then constitution, as you know that constitution is earlier it used to be Indian polity. So, constitution is one of the most vital part, they keep on asking from constitution at work. Then polity is also almost similar. Social justice is the one of the contemporary issue, right. And then international relations. See, there are some ideas, there are some theories of international relation, forming theories, and there are some milestones of international relation, there are some defining elements of international relation you need to equip with to tackle this question, the question related to international. Then paper 4, that is GS 3, general studies 3, you see the word technology. They will not ask you anything from science, it is technology, that means 3D printer, nanotechnology, biotechnology, you will not get typical science questions, right. And then economic development, as you know that in any nation, economic development is the pulse to measure the condition of the nation. So, it is quite important to go through. Then biodiversity, and as you know that it is quite important part of ecology and environment. And then security, internal security, like the issues of Naxalism, regionalism, etc., etc. And then disaster management, as you know that from 2005 we have Disaster Management Act, and things which used to be very casually dealt before, like flood, earthquake, tsunami, now they are very seriously dealt with, right. So, it has become a separate wing of you can say a study. And then a recent part recently introduced, ethics, integrity and aptitude. Morality is what matters in your personal life, ethic is somewhat which matters in your social and competitive life, or you can say professional life, right. Then there are in this segment you will find out of 250 marks question, half of the portion remains to the theory part, and another half they will ask you from the case study part. That means a certain situation, suppose corona has come, suppose some earthquake has come, and what could be the measures taken up, right. So, case study portion will be quite vital to deal with ethics, because 50%, sometimes even 60%. And what is the theory part? Like most of the philosophical part in our life, right, from the Western philosophy to the Eastern philosophy, Mahabharata and Ramayana, everyone contributes a little, towards ethics, right. So, we need to go through the, major philosophical part, and there are 3-4 meta ethics, applied ethics, right. We need to go elaborate towards all those areas to deal with this ethics area. And then comes optional. Many people ask me, sir, which optional I should take, which optional should be comfortable, right. What should we see? While choosing the optional, my first take is to go with the call of the conscience. What is the call of the conscience? What you like the most, what comes straight from the heart, and that should be your, optional. But then many people ask, could you suggest me some optional which is going to help me out in GS as well, because it is going to reduce my burden in GS. Yes, if you want in that way, then there are some optional which can help you, in GS as well. Suppose if your optional is history, definitely it is going to shield a large part of GS paper 1. If your optional is public ad or political science, definitely it is going to shield a large part of paper 2, right. If your optional is, philosophy, definitely paper 4 you will be helped a lot, right. If your optional is geography, paper 3 will be helped. So, in that way there are some optional which screen some area of GS. So, I will not force you to go with that optional, as I told you, just go through the call of conscience, but then if you ask me some commonality, that I am going to discuss with you, right. For in the eye of UPSC, every optional holds equal value. So, do not get confused in that way. As far as IAS interview is concerned, we all know it is not the test of your knowledge, it is all about your loyalty, integrity, and how much you are concerned about yourself, your society, your family, your nation, and the world as a whole. So, that is the major purpose, right, your mental qualities, your analytical abilities. So, these are the things which are generally, called for in the interviews, and the weightage of interview is 275 marks. It is personality test, you will find 5 to 6 members, sometimes 7 as well, which are there in the interview board. They will ask you the questions related to your resume, related to your family, related to your nation, area where you belong to, some international issues, some current issues, but then purpose is not to check your knowledge, purpose is to check more about your integrity and all. So, this is, and even if you want to know more about civil services exam, you may consult the very popular site upsc.gov.in, and before preparing the civil services exam, I would like to suggest you a few tips. First, before choosing civil services as a career option, first go through last 5 years papers, be it CSAT, be it mains, right, and then you see where do you stand and what you need to do. If you believe that yes, I am in a position to cope out with whatever questions are coming in UPSC in another 1 year, then only choose this career as the option, right. That is going to help you out a lot. Thank you very much. All the best.
Thanks for joining us on this session on UPSC by Mr. मुकेश सहाय. आज रात के 8 बजे हमें एड्रेस करेंगे सैयद अबरार अली, मेंटर विरासत IIM अहमदाबाद. वो हमें गाइड करेंगे कैट एग्जामिनेशन के बारे में. तो ज़रूर ज्वाइन करें हमें www.shaheengroup.org पर.